This is Money, Motivation, and Mike, and I am your host, Michael Wainwright. In charge of all the controls is engineer Jason Wright. And hello to you, world. This is the show that will change your life. You can contact us at info@mx3.vip and find all of our new content at mx3.vip or on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@mx3podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, which notifies you of all of our new content that comes out every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. And as of the recording of this show, Jason, 88,476 subscribers. We are up 11,300 roughly subscribers in the last 28 days. So with my math being what it is, our December the 31st goal of 2024 being 100,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel is very close and in reach.
It's doable.
Doable, and it's going to be done. Somehow, some way. Continue. Our listeners and our viewers continue to be there. Obviously, they're passing some words along to their other folks that they know and love. Continue to spread the wealth, and we'll hit 100,000 here before December the 31st. And for the third year now, we're having a Thanksgiving Day special. The day of Thanksgiving is on the topic today, and there are three things we're going to cover today, Jason. We're going to cover Thanksgiving, the holiday, and within that holiday, there's two major things that happen on Thanksgiving. Okay, we're going to get away besides turkey and dressing. What are the other two things that happen on Thanksgiving every year?
One would be football.
One would be football. And number two is the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Yes.
Those are guarantees, or have been for better part of a century. So we're going to assume that they're going to continue to be a part of our long-lasting Thanksgiving Day tradition for many, many years to come. It certainly appears that way. Thanksgiving has not always been a national holiday, even though it is today. And it's also been celebrated on various dates in October and November in the United States, Canada, St. Lucia, Liberia, and officially countries like Brazil, Germany, and the Philippines. It is also observed in a Dutch town of Lebanon and the Australian territory of North Fork Island. It began as a day of giving thanks for the blessings and harvest of the preceding year. Various similar names of harvest festival holidays occurred throughout the world during autumn. You like that word autumn, Jason?
Better.
Yes, sir. By the way, Jason's wife's name's Autumn. Although Thanksgiving has historical roots in religion and cultural traditions, it has long been celebrated as a secular holiday as well. Get this. Germany celebrates Thanksgiving on the first Sunday of October. Canada, the second Monday of October. Did you know that?
I knew Canada.
I mean, we're out here bordering Canada. I never hear anything about that. Did not know it till I was doing my research for this particular episode. The first Thursday in November is Liberia, and the last Wednesday in November is Norfolk Island, Australia. I mean, we just about covered it all around the world right there. Coming to the fourth Thursday in November, being the United States and Brazil. How about that, sports fans? We're gonna focus on the United States. And frankly, I didn't know we even had Thanksgiving celebrations in other parts of the world until this recording as well. An annual Thanksgiving holiday tradition in North America colonies is documented all the way back to the first time in 1916 in what is now called the Commonwealth of Virginia. Did you know the Commonwealth of Virginia is 200 years older than the United States of America?
I did not.
Commonwealth of Virginia, been around for a long time. They still call it, we call it the state of Virginia. People who live in Virginia call it the Commonwealth of Virginia. 38 English settlers aboard the ship Margaret arrived by way of the James River at Berkeley Hundred in Charles City County, Virginia on December the 4th, 1619. Now, are you familiar with the James River, Jason?
Mm-hmm.
James River For those of you who don't know, James River comes from the Atlantic Ocean, and it's the river you can go the farthest into the United States of America. You can ride that river to the farthest point, which goes through Richmond. And obviously, the James River was used for a lot of things of transportation. The farther you could get the goods into the country instead of on such as a Galveston port or something along those lines, the better off you would be. The landing was immediately followed by a religious celebration specifically dedicated by the group's charter from the London Company. The charter declared that the day of our ship's arrival at the place assigned for plantation in the land of Virginia shall be yearly and perpetually kept holy as a day of thanksgiving to God Almighty. So since the mid-20th century, the original celebration has been commemorated there annually and presented Berkeley Plantation, the home of the Harrison family of Virginia. Okay, several days of Thanksgiving were held in early New England history that have been identified as the first Thanksgiving, including pilgrim holidays in Plymouth in 1621 and 1623. Now, obviously, that's after 1619, whenever the settlers, we're talking about the 38 English settlers. Devotees for the first ever celebration of Thanksgiving are New England and Virginia. Other places have also made contradictory claims to having held the first Thanksgiving celebration in what became the United States. The question is contemplated by the concept of Thanksgiving as either a holiday celebration or a religious celebration. James Baker maintains the American holiday's true origin was the New England Thanksgiving. Never coupled with a Sabbath meeting, the observances were special days set aside during the week of Thanksgiving in praise response to God's providence. Baker calls the debate a tempest in a bean pot and marvelous nonsense based on regional claims. 1963, and you got to think about this, November the 5th, 1963. President John F. Kennedy acknowledged both Virginia and Massachusetts claims. Kennedy issued Proclamation 3560 on November the 6th, 1963, stating over 3 centuries ago, our forefathers in Virginia and in Massachusetts, far from home, in a lonely wilderness, set aside a time of thanksgiving. On the appointed day, they gave remembrance, thanks of their safety, for their health, of their children, for the fertility of their fields, and for the love which bound them together, and for the faith which united them with their God. Now, the reason I said November the 5th, 1963 a couple of times, that was purely just a couple of weeks before the assassination. Yes. Interesting. Other claims include an early religious service by Spanish explorer San Elzador in now what is called Texas. And this Spanish explorer considers his date of 1598 to be the original celebration of Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving in the United States has been observed on different dates, from the time of the Founding Fathers until Abraham Lincoln made it a national holiday in 1863. Now, I thought I guess everything's got to start sometime, but I would have thought that Thanksgiving had been around longer than 1863. And learning about Thanksgiving in grade school, I don't recall 1863 ever being mentioned. The date of observance has varied from state to state. The final Thursday in November had become the customary date in most United States by the beginning of the 19th century, coinciding with and eventually superseding the holiday of Evacuation Day, commemorating the day the British exiled the United States after the Revolutionary War. Influenced by New Englander Sarah Hale, who wrote letters to politicians for approximately 40 years. Advocating an official holiday, Lincoln set National Thanksgiving by proclamation for the final Thursday in November in celebration of the boundaries that has continued to the fall of the Union and for the military success in the war. Also calling on the American people with humble persistence for our national perseverance and disobedience. Because of the ongoing Civil War, a nationwide Thanksgiving celebration was not realized until Reconstruction in the 1870s. But now, moving on to October the 31st, 1939, when FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, president, signed a presidential proclamation changing the holiday to the next to last Thursday in November in an effort to boost the economy. The earlier date created an extra 7 days for Christmas shopping, since at the time, retailers never began promoting the Christmas season until after Thanksgiving. Did you know that? Guys, seem like you start promoting Christmas in September now.
Yeah, maybe August in some places.
Jeez. But making the proclamation so close to the change wreaked havoc on the holiday schedule of many people, schools, and businesses, and most Americans were not in favor of the change. Some of those who opposed the change doubled the holiday Franksgiving that year. Franks.
Okay.
Franks. Some state governors went along with the change, while others stuck with the original November 30th date for the holiday. And 3 states, Colorado, Mississippi, and Texas, observed both dates. Roosevelt signed a joint resolution of Congress changing the official National Thanksgiving Day to the 4th Thursday in November, starting in 1942. There are usually four Thursdays in November and sometimes 5. But we're now celebrate on the 4th, Jason. The 4th. Now, as I had mentioned, with come Thanksgiving comes some tremendous traditions. And the first one being the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. Never had the fortune to go to it, but those who have went say it is splendid. And I guess it is. In 1924, store employees marched to Macy's Herald Square, the flagship store on the 34th Street, dressed in costumes. There were floats, professional bands, and live animals borrowed from the Central Park Zoo. At the end of the first parade, Santa Claus was welcomed to Herald Square. At this first parade, Santa was enthroned on the Macy's balcony at the 34th Street store entrance, where he was crowned King of the Kitties. King of the Kitties. With an audience, this is 1924, with an audience of over 250,000 people. The parade was such a success that Macy's declared it would become an annual event, despite media reports only barely covering the first parade. They still had 250,000 people show up. That's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
So now the Macy's Day Parade is an annual parade in New York City, presented by the U.S.-based department store chain Macy's. Macy's also has July 4th in the waters on the East River in Manhattan as well. The parade first took place in 1924, as we discussed, tying it to the second longest, it's not even the longest Thanksgiving parade in the United States, with America's Thanksgiving Parade in Detroit. With both the parade being 4 years younger, okay? Detroit Parade, New York City Parade, 4 years younger than Philadelphia's Thanksgiving Day Parade. So right now in Manhattan, parade 3 hours, right outside of Macy's Herald Square. It takes place in the morning time. It's actually 3.5 hours, Jason. They have 30 minutes worth of commercials. How much money do they make in 30 minutes worth of commercials in a 3.5-hour slot? That's incredible.
Quite a bit, I imagine.
Yep, Eastern time zone. The Thanksgiving Day Parade has been televised nationally on NBC since 1953. I'd like to see the 1953 black and white episode. Yes. All right. That's how people usually get up in the morning. I can remember doing it many, many times. Now to the big event, Jason. Before I get into this, I've got to ask you a question.
All right.
That I believe you will know the answer to. Where were you at November the 25th, 1993?
That'd be Irving. Cowboy Stadium?
Irving, Texas.
Yeah. Cowboy Stadium. Cowboys versus Dolphins.
Texas Stadium.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That was your first ever Cowboy game, as I recall.
I believe it was.
Which obviously will be the first time that you and I ever went to a Cowboy game together.
The one football game I think that most every NFL fan knows.
The Leon Lett game.
Yeah.
Happened right in front of us, didn't it?
Yeah.
Miami Dolphins 16, Dallas Cowboys 14.
We had perfect seats for that.
Yes, we did, up close. Since the inception in 1920, the National Football League has played games on Thanksgiving Day, patterned upon the historic playing of college football games on or around the November holiday. The NFL's Thanksgiving Day game traditionally includes one game hosted by the Detroit Lions since 1934. They're coming on 100 years, 90 years this year. And one game hosted by the Dallas Cowboys since 1966, with two exceptions, 75 and 77. In 2006, a third primetime game has also been placed on Thanksgiving Day. Unlike the two afternoon games, this game has no fixed teams. This all started with Lamar Hunt of the Kansas City Chiefs saying it was unfair that Detroit and Dallas got the games every year. But what is never mentioned is nobody wanted to play on Thanksgiving because you only had 3 days to prepare. Now, you also had a 10-day break afterwards, but everybody liked that 7 days in between. But then Lamar Hunt decided that he didn't think it was fair. Remember, the AFL was named after him, so he carried a lot of clout. And so the Kansas City Chiefs got to start hosting games in 2006, which then started on a rotation. The concept of American football games being played on Thanksgiving Day date back to 1876, shortly after the game had been invented, as it was a day that most people had off of work. And in that year, 1876, the college football teams, who do you think they were, Jason? College football teams in 1876 that played the first ever Thanksgiving Day football game.
Oh, I have no idea.
Yale and Princeton.
Yep. Wouldn't have known it.
You knew it was going to be Ivy League.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would have guessed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have probably guessed Harvard and Yale, but Yale and Princeton just as good. Yes, the University of Michigan also started playing games on 1885 on the same day. So by the time football had become a professional event, playing a Thanksgiving Day holiday game by the NFL, I mean, it already became an institution through the college ranks. Now, also now the NFL, if you notice, I don't really necessarily care for them. They have the throwback uniforms. You know, they wear throwback uniforms on Thanksgiving Day. Since 2001, the throwback uniforms have become a normal thing. And in some cases, even the fields have included classic field logos at the stadiums. I'd like to see the Dallas Cowboys have a logo out there that says Cotton Bowl Fair Park. Now, back to what I was talking about with the home team controversy. You know, it has remained a tradition with the Cowboys and the Lions to host those games. And like I told you, Lamar Hunt upset the former Chief owner who's no longer with us. The Chiefs did host a couple of games. 67, 68, and 69, but they were in the AFL then. The AFL NFL merger didn't happen until 70. So he was the commissioner. The league was named after him. He got to play when he wanted. I'd assume if they wanted to play Tuesday night football, that's what they would have done. So, nevertheless, the Dallas Cowboys, who typically represent a larger television audience, have had fewer public calls to be replaced on Thanksgiving Day. One issue that has been debated is the perceived unfair advantage of the home team on Wednesday. Home team's out there practicing. You're already on a short week. Home team's out there practicing, and the visiting team's having to travel and then get in basically a walkthrough where the other team got in virtually an extra day of practice. Now, November the 25th, 1920, every NFL team played on Thanksgiving Day. Now, what's funny, today it's the high-flying aerial attack. There's a lot of points scored in the games, etc. We had 6 games on that first November the 25th, 1920 day, and 6 teams did not score. We had a tie. The Columbus Panhandles tied the Elyria Athletics 0-0. And in the first ever NFL team, the Canton Bulldogs, they got beat by the Akron Pros 7-0. The Canton Bulldogs did not score on the first day. Okay. Canton Bulldogs basically started playing every year up until the Detroit Lions took it over. Now, as I was looking through this, let me give you this name. November the 26th, 1925, the Cleveland Bulldogs played the Kansas City Cowboys. I'd never heard of the Kansas City Cowboys, which is interesting because the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Texans started in the same year. Cowboys were more popular than the Texans, so the Texans ended up moving to Kansas City to become the Kansas City Chiefs and left behind the Dallas Cowboys. But at one time in 1925, there was a team called the Kansas City Cowboys. And of course, your favorite Thanksgiving will always be, let me say not your favorite, your most memorable? 1993, November the 25th. What team has played on Thanksgiving the most times? Detroit Lions have played 84 games. That also includes their first 4 years of existence, called the Portsmouth Spartans, later becoming the Detroit Lions in 1934. 84 times. Dallas Cowboys have played 56 times. The closest to them would be the Green Bay Packers at 37. Green Bay and Detroit played almost every year on Thanksgiving. And then Chicago Bears at 37. Who's won the most games? The only other double digit, Arizona, get this, Chicago Cardinals started in 1920. Chicago Cardinals, St. Louis Cardinals, Phoenix Cardinals, now called the Arizona Cardinals. 104 years. They've only played 21 games on Thanksgiving Day because they've never really been very good. Yes. They have 15 losses. All right. But the team that's won the most games on Thanksgiving is the Detroit Lions. They have played 28 more games than the Cowboys. Dallas Cowboys have won 33 games. So they played 28 games more, and Dallas is only 3 games behind them. Probably going to be 4 games behind them. Probably going to be 5 wins after this year's Thanksgiving Day. Because the Detroit football Lions look very good and the Dallas Cowboys look very bad.
Yeah.
And why we're on this subject, the Jacksonville Jaguars are the only existing NFL team to never have played on Thanksgiving. The Cincinnati Bengals, the Cleveland Browns, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are the only other 3 teams, obviously the Jaguars, who have never won a Thanksgiving Day game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have only, since their existence in 1976, coming up on 50 years, have only been allowed to play one Thanksgiving Day game. The Cincinnati Bengals, been around for a long time, played one Thanksgiving Day game. And the Cleveland Browns, an old franchise, have only played 3 Thanksgiving Day games, and their first Thanksgiving Day game, 1966, against the Dallas Cowboys. At the Cotton Bowl with Jim Brown. You have some relatives that were actually at that game. So, as we approach Thanksgiving Day 2024, remembrance of what you're thankful for, the traditions that come along with it, getting up and watching the Macy's Parade, tumbling on to the TV or to a football field near you where a game will go on. Lots of high school teams, Jason, up north still play games on Thanksgiving. Now, they don't do it in Texas anymore because they're in the playoffs right now. But did you know the longest running football rivalry in the state of Texas, high school football, being pretty dominant, considered in California, Florida, and Texas, where you have a lot of athletes that go on to play collegiate ball. The longest running football rivalry in the state of Texas is Sherman, Texas, and Denison, Texas. Been playing for over 125 years. And dating all the way back to the 1950s, they used to play the Sherman-Denison game on Thanksgiving Day.
Impressive. I didn't know that.
Yes. And I know some folks that used to play in that game. Still alive, still kicking, still existing. You can always find our information at mx3.vip or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@MX3 Podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified of all of our new content, which comes out every Monday morning around 9 o'clock. Please email us, info@mx3.vip. Based on last week's topic, the emails have been interesting, to say the least. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Jason. Happy Thanksgiving to the viewing and listening audience, not only here, but all over the world. As we have talked about, several countries, especially in the North American sector, that celebrate Thanksgiving Day. So until next time, continue to live your life the right way.